In the early 2000s, the Chicago Blackhawks were, well, barely registering. Shout out to the diehards, but the team was almost an afterthought in its own town. The closest it came to a championship were the 3 banners hanging quietly in the rafters. But slowly, things started to shift. It didn't happen with one trade or one draft pick. It happened piece by piece. A 7-player core was assembled, a group from different places, different backgrounds, and different stages of their careers. 7 Blackhawks who would go on to have their names etched on the Stanley Cup 3 times. Today, their arrival in Chicago feels like fate, but the truth is every one of them could have just as easily wound up somewhere else or out of the game altogether. This is the unlikely story, how those 7 players ended up in Chicago, how they turned the United Center into a hockey cathedral and this city into a hockey town, and how, with a little help from their friends, they added their own piece of history to the rafters of Chicago. A team that took the Blackhawks from irrelevant to unforgettable. This isn't a retelling of the 3 Stanley Cup runs. If you want that, YouTube's got you covered. And yeah, there were some great moments.
Go do your shot, deflected, scramble, they score! Ballin!
Some really incredible moments.
Here's Marcel, the shot, glove save made by Corey Crawford! To the line, Oduya winds and fires, he scores! The Hawks have tied the game at 3!
Okay, maybe a few more for nostalgia.
Holding down and back to Hjalmarsson, score! Gives it to Toews, Toews right half board, put it out in front, Bickle fires, he scores!
This is the story of the 7 guys who made those moments possible and the perfect confluence of luck, timing, and belief that brought them together. In Chicago, for us, for history. But first, let's go back to the beginning. Back to when ESPN called the Blackhawks the worst franchise in sports. It was a team that needed to rebuild, and to do that, you needed to draft smart. And the Blackhawks enlisted a very pragmatic person to get things started. Mike Smith, former hockey guy.
Well, the attraction of the hockey business for me is you're part of a group of people working together in a very adverse business. Everybody's trying to beat you.
Mike had his work cut out for him, so he assembled a team and got to work changing the course for the original 6 franchise.
People say, well, how do you get better? You get better players.
And in 2002, Smith got things started, and he did it by unearthing a gem in the 2nd round. A defenseman who had been told his entire life that he wasn't big enough. But what people weren't measuring was his heart.
When I was a kid, I mean, you always hear about how you have to be big to play in the NHL, and I certainly didn't have the hype that other guys had, even prior to that draft year. So I guess looking back, I always believed in myself, and I thought I was, in my own head, the best. But, you know, you go 54th overall, it's 53 guys ahead of you. There was a little motivation there, yeah, to prove that I should have been drafted higher. And also, I guess, to show the team that drafted me that they made the right decision. There was a lot of motivation there for that.
We could all see in the hockey department that he was a gem. You know, like he's a real player. He can play the game.
I saw him at Michigan State. His feet didn't touch the ice. Like he could just, I mean, I have very rarely seen anybody skate like this. But he probably didn't weigh 150 pounds, and he probably was 5'7", 5'6", whatever it was. His feet were unbelievable, and his stamina. He could go up and back, up and back, up and back. But he just was flying out there.
I remember one guy, he asked me why basically the Kings should draft me, you know, and what separates me from the other players. And all I told him was I thought that I was the hardest working guy in the draft. I thought that I was gonna be a harder worker. And I think that was, you know, kind of led to some of the success that I had and helped this team.
He helped this team with his Hall of Fame career. But perhaps no moment demonstrated Duncan Keith's heart more than a moment in the second round of the 2010 playoffs. It was a display of grit that came to epitomize Duncan Keith.
This is a major swing moment. Duncan Keith got hit right in the mouth. Marlowe makes it 2-0, but Duncan Keith loses a ton of teeth.
You know, there really was no question or thought that I was gonna not play. I came to the bench and asked Brian Campbell how it looked.
I just kind of remember him spitting and blood everywhere. I basically said, it's not that bad. What else are you going to say to the guy besides you've just lost 7 teeth and you're an absolute mess right now?
And that's the way my career went, and that's something that happened in it. And I think I got a good work ethic. I'd like to think I gave it everything I had when I was out on the ice and for the team.
That's just a reflection of you're going to be a real player. So I lost my teeth to take care of it later. I got a game to play. And so I have more of a sign of his toughness.
The competitive energy he had, I mean, he never gave up on a play, never wanted to lose, no matter what it was. You know, his skill set and his speed and his quickness and what he was able to do with the puck and what he was able to do with his feet and how he closed out people, you know, that's what made him great.
I remember talking with Dunks one time. The question was like, what would you be if you weren't a professional hockey player? He was like, I'm going to be a baseball player. And then the argument starts like, well, how are you going to be a baseball player from Ontario? And his answer was, whatever I wanted to be, I was going to be. And that kind of sums up Duncan to me. He's ultra determined. He's going to get the most out of his ability, and nothing's really going to stop him. And if you look at his career, he's going to the Hall of Fame for a reason.
I don't even know what to say. Best time in my life right now, having this crowd here. Stanley Cup. Who knows a good dentist, by the way? Anyone got a dentist? Yeah, we love it.
It's just kind of the way I was brought up, that you're going to work hard and not give up and never quit.
And just like Duncan, the Blackhawks kept pushing. 2003 is now considered one of the deepest drafts in NHL history. The Blackhawks had the 14th pick in an absolutely stacked draft.
If you're picking 2, you got a pretty good chance you're getting one of these 2 players. If you're picking 14, you're not sure which player you're getting. So you would have a group of 3-4 players, and you'd put them in order. And those 3-4 players, Brent was at the top.
Even though he had a bit more heft than traditional hockey players,
Brent Seabrook was in bad shape. It's no big deal because most players coming juniors or college, not in very good shape. You got to work at it. And Brent Seabrook gets a lot of credit because he listened and he did it. And he never stopped doing it. So I'd say Brent Seabrook had character.
and not everyone was as open-minded.
I heard from a scout that drafted me, that pushed for me to be drafted, that other scouts around the league, would laugh. I was a heavier player. I don't know if I was out of shape, playing shape, but my body wasn't, it was a little softer than some of the other guys we had on our team. So some of the other scouts would say, I hope you have fun riding Seabiscuit in a training camp.
But there were things teams loved.
I think my size, physicality, my shot.
Brent Seabrook's shot.
You know, we talk about how great he was for the locker room, but I mean, he had some incredible moments, like scoring big goals, the Game 7 against Detroit, overtime goal against Boston.
Perhaps no goal was as big as his strike against the Detroit Red Wings. Down 3-1 in the series, the Blackhawks fought back, but were on the edge of elimination in Game 7. Minutes after overtime started, in front of an anxious United Center crowd, the puck found its way to the stick of Brent Seabrook.
Ahead comes Seabrook with a shot, and he
something Joel always preached was shoot the puck. And it's never a bad time to take a shot. You know, and I just sort of got across the blue line, and it was by myself with, you know, Nicholas Cronwall, and I just shot it, and it hit his knee pad, hit the ice, and went like top corner. I like to tell everybody that it went straight in top corner, greatest shot ever, but it was off a knee pad and went top corner. The goal goes in off my stick, but it was a fight from every player, and we just had a great couple games there. I was able to get us back into the fight, so it was fun to be a part of that.
Brent Seabrook. Big guy, big leader, bigger shot. In the city of broad shoulders, Seabs was a perfect fit. In 2005, the Blackhawks imported an absolute warrior from a very unlikely place.
Nicka handlar på ett skott. Drömmer stort och flott. Ingen anar nåt. Hela rösten ser på Viasat. Hela rösten hör varenda katt.
Yes, the mean streets of Rusnäs, a small farming village in Sweden. Before he was blocking shot after shot after shot in the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs, Niklas was just a kid from a tiny Swedish village. The kind of place where hard work wasn't something you learned, it was something you lived.
Grew up in a small village called Rusnäs, very, very remote. I think maybe 60 people total, 75 or something like that, to be accurate.
By 2005, Dale Talon had become GM of the Blackhawks.
These little small towns with, you know, they'd have a bar, a hotel, and a rink, you know, type thing. And these great hockey players would come out of these environments, you know, because you skated to school, you played outside, and then primarily it was on the road and outdoor rinks, and that's where you learn your skills.
Watching his father, Hjalmarsson learned the quiet kind of lesson. The kind you don't talk about, the kind you just absorb.
I've reflected more on after my career where why did I become the type of player and person that I was, and it was my dad was a big part of that. It's not like he told me a lot of stuff in words. It was more by action and doing, and you know, just working. I think that was something that I naturally just thought everybody was like that, and that's how you should live life. Without even realizing it myself, I learned a lot just by seeing how he was.
That work ethic, the quiet toughness, became his foundation.
He did what he had to do to bring success to this team. He was willing to sacrifice his body. That's why they won. That whole team of those guys.
I wanted the fans and the coaches and my teammates to feel that I wanted to win at all costs. I don't know if it's toughness or just stupidity. Now when you had some years to reflect on it, I'm just shaking my head to myself. I don't even know what I was doing sometimes. How I could play with some of the injuries.
Just a warrior, getting up, coming back the next shift, just kind of laying it all on the line and sacrificing his body for the team.
The best example of this grit might have been in 2013 against the Los Angeles Kings.
Goes to Downey. Kamoina with a drive, and that's staggered Hjalmarsson. Nicholas Hjalmarsson is down after blocking that shot and has barely moved.
Nick got hit in the knee with a puck and just kept going.
Harder on it. Hjalmarsson in agony out there. Back goes to Downey. And Hjalmarsson standing on one leg, and play continues.
That just came with my mindset. While I'm in my career, it's going to be a short time of my life. I'm going to try to make the most of it, and I want to try to play as many games as I can and show the crowd. And like I said, my teammates, that I'm always giving my all, and I think hopefully that kind of rubbed off on some of the guys in the team as well when they saw that.
The selfless star.
I see it more like it was my job. Really, it's not more fun than that. I thought it was my obligation and my job to do it.
The farmer's son, taking care of business. By the 2005 to 2006 season, the Blackhawks had continued to draft well, adding players like Dave Bolin, Troy Brouwer, Dustin Byfuglien, and Adam Burish. Brian Bickle, and a pretty solid goalie named Corey Crawford, two guys who made appearances for the Blackhawks in all 3 Stanley Cup seasons, had also been added to the mix. As these players continued to develop, the Blackhawks had to continue progress on the NHL roster.
The first team we had when I was the general manager was a team that could have played in the 60s. You know, the whole rules, clutch and grab, getting away, sandpaper more than skill. There wasn't enough speed. We had to readjust quickly. And it started with the Patrick Sharp trade. I looked at the games, I watched the teams, and I said, we don't have any speed at all. And Patrick, I watched him in college, and then I saw him wasting away in Philadelphia on the bench 4 or 5 minutes a game.
In 2005, Patrick Sharp was 23 years old and stuck in the depths of Philadelphia's system.
I kept harassing Bobby Clark in Philadelphia. He's wasting away there. What do you want for him? I could use him.
I didn't really want to be traded, ever. Drafted by the team, won a championship in the minors, felt like I had completed the development process, really. I was ready for the final challenge, which was being an everyday NHL player, but the numbers were kind of stacked against me, and I was running out of time. But I needed to prove myself at the NHL level and looked across the league for opportunities to do that. Chicago had a number of players that I played against, and they were all up with the Hawks, playing a lot of minutes, doing pretty well. So I figured if anybody knew what I can do, maybe it would be the Hawks. So that was a team that we kind of pinpointed and went after. And to the Flyers' credit, it was the right thing to do to kind of give me a chance to play somewhere else.
Sharp's talent didn't pay off right away. Chicago was rebuilding, the crowds were thin, and Sharp couldn't find his game.
Wanted more opportunity, wanted more playing time to show everybody that I could play. And then when I got it in Chicago, I went 0 for 25, no goals in my first 25 games, and really started to feel very down on myself, defeated.
Sometimes when you sign or trade for a player, they try to do too much. They want to carry the team. They want to justify the trade or justify the signing. And, Sharpie handled it quite well, even though it was a struggle at the beginning.
During that season, when I was in that scoring drought, I was thinking of other things to do with my life. My mom helped me enroll in Lakehead University in Thunder Bay, Ontario. I thought that my NHL opportunities were dying and the dream was over.
That's right, Patrick Sharp almost quit hockey. But at his darkest moment, when he came closest to walking away from the game, something clicked.
I actually went home that Olympic break and had to follow through because we enrolled in university. So I went to the university of my hometown, and I was just sitting there looking at all the kids walking around, going to the classes, and something clicked in my brain, get out of here. You're in the NHL and you're gonna blow up, and go do it.
And from then on, Sharp, he got used to scoring. But maybe no goal was as poetic as the goal that came against his former team in the 2010 Stanley Cup Final. Down 1 in a pivotal Game 6, Sharp flashed some of his goal-scoring skill.
Here tonight for the Flyers. Here's Keith beating one on a cross. It's down on further. Score! Patrick Sharp! A 4-on-4 goal ties the game.
I scored a goal and then did this weird celebration. I looked back to the roof of the hockey rink. I'd played with so many great players that played their whole career and didn't get the chance to win the Stanley Cup. And I saw how that affected them throughout their life. It was almost like the prayers were being answered, that we're gonna get this done. At center ice with the cup afterwards, Joel Quenneville told my dad that was the best game that he's ever seen me play. So that kind of stuck with me through the rest of my career. Whenever we got into big moments, that I knew I could step up and be a helpful player for the team.
Before Chicago's love of the Blackhawks turned to an obsession, there were a few more pieces that needed to join the team. Headed into the 2006 draft, there were a lot of nerves about the Blackhawks getting their guy.
2006, that's just a long time ago. I remember it like it was yesterday.
The next pick, 3rd overall, belongs to the Chicago Blackhawks.
It's the only time at the draft I didn't sleep because I wasn't sure we were going to get him.
I had a feeling that Pittsburgh was probably the highest chance to get picked and to go high.
On behalf of the Pittsburgh Penguins organization, I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome to our organization from Peterborough, Jordan Stahl.
When they passed on me, that's when I was like, okay, I could be sitting here a while because I don't know what's going to happen now. All the rumors from all the commentators on TV and all that were talking about how they would go Phil Kessel at number 3.
I've watched him in North Dakota. The guys, our scouts had watched him at Shattuck. You know, they had a good book on him. You know, and his leadership, his skill, his demeanor, everywhere he played. And we wanted him. I didn't want anybody else. If he had been picked, probably would have traded that pick to get a couple other assets. We wanted that guy, and we got lucky.
Here's the pick for the Hawks.
From the University of North Dakota, Jonathan Toews.
So Chicago skips by Kessel and takes Jonathan Toews, the Winnipeg native, who played for Canada at the World Junior Hockey Championship and played very well. And he goes as the 3rd overall pick in this draft.
There was no doubt in our minds that he was the guy. It doesn't happen very often, but we knew that he was special. And he proved us right.
Jonathan Toews, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Jonathan Toews, the newest member of the Chicago Blackhawks.
Right away, we said he's going to be our captain eventually. And then we made it a little earlier than probably it should have been, but I think we felt, what the heck, let's go for it, you know. And so we made him captain at that young age. And he handled it extremely well.
The next captain is Chicago Blackhawks, number 19, Jonathan Toews.
Great captains are great leaders, especially when their team needs them the most. In 2015, the Blackhawks were chasing a 3rd cup in 6 years, sealing the team's place as a dynasty. After 2 bruising playoff rounds, the Blackhawks found themselves in Anaheim, and the miles were showing. The Ducks were younger, fresher, meaner. They pushed Chicago to the limit. Physical overtime games. Emotion was running high. Game 7 found the Blackhawks on the road in Anaheim, facing a hostile crowd.
I think it's one of those moments where you're so nervous, you want it so bad, and you find a way to get to a place of just understanding that, you know, the guys on their team want it just as bad. They're putting just as much pressure on themselves. And it really just comes down to how are you going to just rise above that and go play.
With the season on the line, the captain went to work.
Hjalmarsson, deep slot with a shot. Score! Toews on the rebound. It is 1-0.
It was early in the game to get a rebound from Hammer, putting it on net. You know, right there, you're just getting that feeling like, we're doing this.
Puck to the back, though, and it's given over to Keith. Then back again to Richards. Then on across for Toews. He scores!
Toews' 2 early goals put the team up 2-0. The leader led.
Just kind of put the blinders on, not stop to think for 1 second, and we never looked back.
The Blackhawks will face the Tampa Bay Lightning in the Stanley Cup Final 2015.
You don't really think about how close you are to being knocked out sometimes, especially when you go all the way to win the championship. But those are, you know, the games like that I always look back and, you know, I always say that the number one quality we had as a team is that we were just so difficult to put away in those big games, and it felt good to rise to the occasion in that one.
Good teams become great teams with the right leaders. Jonathan Toews was the right leader. Seriously. But the Blackhawks would never have become a dynasty if it wasn't for a little luck along the way. As Patrick Kane skated down the ice with the puck in the 2010 Stanley Cup Final, the moment that sealed Chicago's first Cup win in almost 50 years. It almost felt inevitable. But if you rewind the story far enough, you realize Patrick Kane almost never became a Chicago Blackhawk. In 2007, the Hawks were expected to finish 5th in the draft lottery, but then the unexpected happened. It was the first time the franchise had ever had the first pick in the draft. What followed was unimaginable. But first, the Blackhawks had to look past one thing: Patrick's size.
You know, anytime I went up to the next level, non-hitting to hitting, or to playing against older people to, you know, playing in a big league like the OHL or even the NHL, the knock was always the size.
Rick Dudley and I went to a game in London, Ontario, a playoff game against Plymouth.
I knew they were watching me. We went up against a really tough physical team in Plymouth with Jared Bowl and James Neal. I remember just kind of getting beat up that series.
And Bowl just hammered him. I thought he was dead. We looked at each other and go, there's no way this kid's getting back up, right? And he got up like, you know, got 2 goals, 2 assists. They won 4-0, I think. And we looked at each other and I said, I think we got our guy.
This historic pick, first time ever the Chicago Blackhawks have had the first pick. And we proudly select from the London Knights, the Ontario Hockey League, Patrick Kane.
There are concerns about the size, though, guys. I talked to one scout who said he's very skilled, he's very smart, and he's very, very small.
Was it at all a consideration for you in the fact that Denny Savard is behind your bench, a guy who had a pretty darn good career without much size? Did that play a factor in you choosing Patrick?
And we had no reservations at all because of the size of his heart. He was fearless. He's fearless, goes into tall trees, he gets the work done. And to make the play, he takes the hits, and he never got knocked down. So we never worried about his size.
Sometimes you get hit and it kind of wakes you up and gets you into the game a little bit more too. You get a little bit pissed off that you got hit like that and you want to, you know, get him back. And, you know, obviously I'm not going to get him back by running him over, right? So the best way for me to do it is to score a goal or make a play.
And in 2010, Patrick Kane took the opportunity to get back at anyone who had ever questioned his size.
On back to be taken by Campbell. Here's Campbell handing on to Kane again. Lots of head fakes there trying to shake Timonen. Threw one in front. Oh my, it rattled around and it kicked on back and then scored. We saw no light, we saw no signal, and we're not sure if they've set a signal of a goal yet, but they are celebrating at the other end of the ice. What chaos!
You dream of scoring, like that's what you do when you play as a kid, right? You score the winning goal in overtime to win the Stanley Cup, and you know, here I am at 21 and just scoring that goal and doing that. It's like you achieved your biggest dreams. You know, I've had bad dreams where that puck isn't in the net and I'm jumping up and down the ice, skating down the ice. So happy and lucky that it went in the net, and it really did, and kind of stuck to the back pad there. And
I think there were 3 people that knew that puck went in. Leighton, Kane, and me, you know, because no one knew they weren't sure that puck went in, right? Well, I knew it was in. Kaner knew it was in.
Imagine if this kid let his size keep him down. If the lottery balls hadn't bounced the right way. If the Blackhawks hadn't taken him #1 overall. Now that would have been a heartbreaker. Sometimes a belief in your teammates is the strongest motivation you can have. It's what brought Marian Hossa to Chicago.
There's just so many guys that played roles, you know, whether it's moments on the ice or just saying the right thing, bringing their character, lifting the mood up in the locker room or on the plane or on the bus. You realize how much all those personalities really mattered.
For 2 straight seasons, Marian Hossa had watched from the losing bench as his opponent hoisted the Stanley Cup.
Losing against Pittsburgh in Detroit, that was devastating. I'm not gonna lie.
That's it! The Pittsburgh Penguins have won this hockey game!
That summer was one of the toughest summer for myself.
When free agency hit in 2009, he still had plenty of suitors.
So we started talking to teams right after playoffs were finished. Well, it was really, honestly, Pittsburgh, I guess, because, you know, he's offered a similar term to Sid and offered, you know, a lot of money. But Marian likes his privacy, so he was always leaning towards Tampa. From a lifestyle perspective, he was a little reluctant to make a decision that wouldn't allow him to have a place on the waterway, be away from hockey, be around an environment where there's one reporter who might ask him a question every 2 weeks. That was appealing to him, but met with Stan Bowman and Dale Talon at the draft.
Marian had identified that the Chicago Blackhawks were the team of the future,
his most important thing for Marian is that he wants to win.
This was so appealing to him from a hockey perspective.
Now the Blackhawks with the added four-time All-Star Marian Hossa from Detroit.
Ultimately, Jonathan Toews, Patrick Kane, Patrick Sharp, Seabrook, Keith, Buff, all of those guys were the reason he came here.
Hossa was so impressed by the group of players that had been assembled in Chicago that he was willing to put his personal needs aside.
Hossa's going to be a great addition. I mean, I'd love to hit it off with a guy like that.
It's not too big of a change other than you get to see that freak Marian Hossa fly around for us now instead of scoring on us all the time.
Marian picked Chicago, and in 2010, Marian's faith in this group of players was rewarded. A first-round matchup against the Predators proved just how dangerous playoff hockey can be. The series was tied at 2. The Blackhawks were down 4-3 late in the third period, and Hossa made a mistake. It left hockey fans wondering if he really was cursed.
Sharp and down to the Hawk line, 1:12 on the clock. Keith with a head-man pass to Hossa. Predator line deflects it in behind the net, then rams Hjalmarsson down and head first into the boards behind the Predator net.
As Hossa sat in the penalty box and the final seconds ticked from the third period, the Blackhawks seemed destined to send the series back to Nashville with his team facing an elimination game.
I said wow, that's not good. I was sitting in the penalty box here, sweating bullets.
It was that familiar feeling for Marian Hossa. He was already said to be snake-bitten, and as he sat in the penalty box, he knew his legacy was at stake. Hossa picked Chicago because he believed in his teammates, and when he needed it most, his team lifted him.
Net empty, extra attacker, shot by Toews, reopen, score! Kane! And he ties the score at 4!
And against all odds, with a shorthanded goal to send the game to overtime.
And a long power play of 3 minutes and 56 seconds.
4 minutes of overtime, down a man. Some of the most stressful hockey in Blackhawks history. But the penalty was killed. Hossa was set free, and he made some magic of his own. Marian Hossa, the guy who can never quite win it all, became the hero who kept Chicago's dream alive.
Third time is a charm, baby!
And when it was time for the Blackhawks to hoist the cup in 2010, there was no question who Toews was handing it to.
The captain gets it first. And then, always interesting, is who winds up with it next.
Hossa.
And Marian Hossa, for the first time, has the cup above his head.
Hossa had already had such a storied career at that point, and again, one of the best players to play the game. He was so graceful in the way he played, but he worked harder than anybody. And so for him to go, back-to-back years, losing in the final, and finally joining us and getting the chance to win, I almost felt like, why am I the first guy picking up the cup? A handful of guys that are so deserving that I thought it'd be pretty fitting to grab it and hand it off to Hossa right away.
Marian Hossa, with this group, finally caught what he had been chasing. The Blackhawks won 3 Stanley Cups in a 6-year span. The third championship made him a dynasty, forever tying together all the players that contributed during that era. And holding that group together, night after night, was the coach behind the bench, Joel Quenneville.
He obviously was a big factor. Obviously, he brought them all together. With Joel, it was no nonsense. He let them be free. He let them be people. He was firm, he was fair, and they respected the hell out of him.
Q came in, and it was like you just felt that he was a coach, and he's the right coach for the group.
Remember, we're in this room a couple times. We said the best part of winning the cup is on the road to trying to win the cup. And when you look back over it, whether it's one day or 10 years, you're going to say that roller coaster ride that we're on and up and down was a hell of an achievement at the end of the day.
He was the right coach for the Blackhawks, in a city that loved this team. And maybe that's why the third Stanley Cup, the final one, meant something different. Chicago got to celebrate the Stanley Cup at home with their city, their fans. A moment not just for the 7 who shaped the era, but the many who lifted this team along the way. The stars, but also the grinders, the glue guys, the unsung heroes ready to step up when it mattered most. Everyone had a moment. Sometimes it was a goal, sometimes a block, sometimes a shift that didn't show up anywhere except in the hearts of the guys on the bench. So by the time the Blackhawks won in 2015, it was clear the moment didn't belong to just a few.
We had the kind of group that we never felt like we were out of a game. It was fun to be around. Pretty special.
The 7 stars may have helped set the standard, but the rest of the roster, 3 different times, rose to it. And that's why, when you strip everything else away, what made the Blackhawks special wasn't the wins, it was the people.
Very fortunate to be able to play with so many skilled and great hockey players.
You won't meet 21 or 22 better people than those guys, in my opinion. I mean, I would adopt them all. I mean, that's the kind of people they were.
I mean, there's definitely times where all those guys, I could say, was like my best friend at a certain time. So I was really lucky and fortunate to come up with those guys.
To do it with this organization, Original 16, is very special. And to be a part of that kind of era, to have those 3 cups and championships, and yeah, special, and a lot of good stories.
It was awesome to see the city really rally behind us, and the fans were amazing, and it was just a fun time to be a hockey player and be in that city for sure.
It really just went by in the blink of an eye. It's rare that you do get to stop and really smell the roses and truly like just soak it in, because the minute you do, you're kind of resting on your laurels. But for a long time, we had the same 5, 6, 7 guys in the locker room that were kind of the core group, and you always think that things are going to stay the same forever, and before you know it, it's all over.
Chicago was lucky. 7 stories that could have gone different directions, but we got them here in Chicago. And the magic wasn't just who they were as individuals, it was who they were as a group. And now, in the United Center, hanging quietly in the rafters, is a reminder of the greatest era in Chicago Blackhawks hockey. 3 legendary teams, remembered forever.